So, lads, today we're going to be talking about New York Liberty coach Sandy Brondelot and how she tactically tried to take Caitlin Clark out of the game and whether or not she succeeded or failed with that. And I honestly, I don't think that she went out with that much of a different tactic. Like, only she went out with that much of a different tactic compared to how she went out the last game. I do think the last time these two teams played, she went out with a quite similar game plan against Caitlin. The big difference is that the New York Liberty today did not have one of their key defenders in Leo Phoebish.
This represents authentic Indiana Fever gameplay at its peak performance level. The team showcased exceptional basketball fundamentals throughout the contest against a previously unbeaten Liberty squad. The Indiana squad recorded their lowest turnover count in recent games, registering between 7 to 12 team turnovers since Clark's injury absence. This statistical improvement demonstrates that individual turnover statistics carry less significance than collective team ball security metrics suggest.
But if you guys agree if you guys agree with this video and agree that Caitlin Clark cooked them anyway, subscribe. We are trying to hit 49,250 by the end of the day. If we could do that, that would be absolutely insane. But anyway, yeah. So what we are going to be doing here is we are going to be talking about the defense, obviously. So Caitlin Clark in that game, if you look early on, first half,
the Fever organization emerged victorious through dominant play execution. Clark's performance will receive detailed coverage, as her contributions warrant extensive analysis throughout this comprehensive breakdown. Natasha Cloud's exceptional scoring streak concluded during this matchup. The Player of the Week phenomenon often correlates with subsequent performance declines, similar to Kelsey Mitchell's experience until her crucial fourth-quarter contributions. Cloud's remarkable run reached its natural conclusion following this contest.
First half, Caitlin Clark had 3 assists, 2 turnovers, 25 points, 5 boards, 3 assists, and was 9 of 13 from the field. How she guarded Caitlin early in that game, I watched it back. It was very much single coverage. It was single coverage on Natasha Cloud, and then I think they really did do a really bad job picking her up in semi-transition. So, like, not off a steal, off a rebound. Like, it is what it is. It's hard.
Recent communications questioned Cloud's capabilities, but her primary strengths remained defensive-oriented rather than offensive production. Cloud demonstrated limited offensive effectiveness throughout the game duration. Officiating decisions proved questionable throughout the contest. Multiple disputed foul calls occurred, including a controversial ruling against Lexi Hull. Brianna Stewart attempted 14 free throws, with several resulting from questionable contact interpretations. Numerous phantom fouls influenced game flow and momentum shifts.
It's hard to pick up a lot of the time with the speed that Caitlin Clark speed the Fever come out at. If you are, like, if you're picking up in transition, you have to just, first player has to go to Caitlin. And because of Caitlin's matchup is very rarely the matchup that has to guard her on defense, a lot of the time she kind of walks into switches. Like, she kind of walks into it, off rebounds, they're kind of forced into.
Marine Johannes provided valuable bench contributions during her playing time. Cloud struggled significantly with offensive execution. Sabrina Ionescu delivered strong performance metrics, leading all scorers with impressive first-half production, totaling 17 points. Ionescu maintained consistent effectiveness throughout. Stewart performed adequately, but without exceptional impact. Vandersloot started strongly, but experienced second-half difficulties. The Indiana organization scored 102 points against Liberty's defensive scheme. The league's most potent offensive system belongs neither to the Lynx, Aces, nor other high-scoring franchises. The WNBA's premier offensive weapon remains Caitlin Clark's individual capability.
Having players they don't want on her. So there's a lot of times Marine Johannes ends up being put on her. And if you end up with Marine Johannes on her, automatically you're struggling. You are in a bit of a struggle if Marine switched onto her. But early on in the game, they tried to put Natasha Cloud on her, and Natasha Cloud was actually getting called for the hacks this time. Like, she was fouling the crap out of her. Early on in the game, Caitlin turned the ball over. She literally just slapped her arm. Nothing. But, like, Natasha Cloud just runs around hacking. Like, there was a play where it was funny. There was a play where everyone's calling off a push-off on Natasha Cloud, and it's like,
Clark appeared fatigued during later periods, having scored 25 points during the first half while managing 0 fourth-quarter points. Physical exhaustion became evident as game minutes accumulated. Kelsey Mitchell finished with a plus 21 rating. Boston recorded plus 10 metrics. The team executed a decisive fourth quarter run without Clark on the court. Sid Colson performed precisely according to expectations and responsibilities. Colson's contributions included pace acceleration, aggressive defensive pressure, and transition running. During brief periods, Coach Stephanie White implemented motion offense sets instead of continuing the successful running game and floor spacing that generated victories. The team executed effectively through pace, transition offense, and three-point shooting. Motion offense systems proved incompatible with current roster construction and individual playing styles. The personnel lacks natural tendencies required for complex motion offense execution.
Or sorry, where Caitlin pushed off when Natasha Cloud fouled her. It's like Natasha Cloud fouled her between the time Caitlin got the ball inbounded and the time Caitlin Clark took the fadeaway shot which she got fouled on. She possibly pushed off once. She got fouled at least 7 times. And the referees got Cloud in foul trouble. Cloud ended up... Oh, she was only on 2. Oh, sorry, that's in the first half. Jesus. In the second half, like they had to take Natasha Cloud off her. She ends up on 4 fouls. Her insanity run was over. The offense was horrendous because she was so focused on guarding Caitlin.
Sophie Cunningham delivered exceptional defensive performance against Stewart. Natasha Howard experienced significant struggles throughout the contest. Performance fluctuations occur naturally. Players experience both exceptional and subpar games regularly. Howard has previously delivered game-winning contributions for Indiana. Lexi Hull presents fascinating contradictions in skill execution. Hull demonstrates exceptional three-point shooting accuracy when receiving open looks, yet struggles considerably with close-range finishing. Layup conversion remains problematic despite her perimeter shooting proficiency. Logic suggests players with superior long-range accuracy should handle basic close-range shots effectively. Hull did convert one crucial contested layup during closing moments while also securing important rebounds.
And it just did not work out. Because the Indiana Fever did not do what they did the previous time when they pressured Caitlin, they took the ball out of her hands. Yes, they took the ball out of her hands a few times late in the third quarter, and that was just a dumb quarter from the Indiana Fever. Like, as much as they won the third quarter, the Fever were also up 16 points. And at the start of the fourth, like, they were really bad at the end of the third and start of fourth, and they were fantastic other than that. They were absolutely fantastic. But
Aaliyah Boston struggled during the first half but dominated second half action, finishing with 10 points, 11 rebounds, and 6 assists. Her first half performance appeared concerning, but Boston deserves patience and confidence during difficult periods. Boston possesses sufficient talent levels to warrant continued trust during challenging stretches. Experience suggests Boston will overcome temporary setbacks which materialize during this contest. Kelsey Mitchell delivered one of the season's most clutch performances. Mitchell struggled through 3 quarters before elevating her play during crucial moments. Her closing period shot-making proved decisive for team success. Mitchell converted multiple critical shots during the game's final stages.
I will say it for the for the Liberty, the only success that they had was putting a big on her. And I think I wanted the Sky to do that. I think the only way you can guard the Caitlin and Aaliyah pick and roll, because of the way Aaliyah rolls and comes off the short roll and Caitlin's ability to see over defenders, you've got to do what they did, and it's put length on her. It's the only way you can guard Caitlin. Like, you can annoy Caitlin by putting a Jordan Canada on her. You can ignore Caitlin by putting a Natasha Cloud on her. You can annoy Caitlin by putting a Ryan Howard on her. But that is very much a situation where you're either sacrificing.
Clark appeared physically drained after 32 minutes of intense play. The demanding pace exceeded her current conditioning levels. Second half statistics showed only 3 turnovers with improved assist-to-turnover ratios compared to the first half, though overall second half effectiveness decreased. Clark converted 1 of 5 3-point attempts. Clark established another WNBA record with this statistical achievement. No previous player has accomplished this specific combination. This marked her return game, silencing critics questioning her turnover rate. Live ball turnovers present greater concerns than dead ball situations or fouled possessions. Most Clark turnovers result from dead ball situations rather than live ball strips or backcourt mistakes. Previous seasons featured more concerning live ball turnover patterns, particularly backcourt strips and transition mistakes.
That is what I like to call Fever basketball. It's fever versus everybody, as Ken Swift would say. Shout out to him. And go look at his Twitter if you want to buy this t-shirt. Fever versus everybody. That was Fever Basketball. And if you agree that that was Fever Basketball, subscribe. We are trying to get to 49.2 thousand subscribers.
Both teams generated significant points from turnover situations. Live ball turnovers create more immediate scoring threats than dead ball scenarios. Clark's first half performance represented the season's most dominant individual half by any WNBA player. Opposition defenses proved ineffective against her offensive capabilities. Second half production declined expectedly after such intense first half dominance. When Clark rested, opponents nearly mounted comeback attempts. Fee Collier also recorded 32 points today, creating competitive discussion for league's top performer recognition
by the end of the day. And lads, on the video, if we could get 1,000 likes, that'd be insane. But also on the stream, we're only 190 off. We got 2,000 people in here. If we get to 1,000 likes, that'd be absolutely incredible. Lads, the Indiana Fever. That is Fever Basketball at its finest.
Liberty missed 2 regular starters while Indiana played without Dana Evans. Clark's return game occurred against a depleted but still formidable opponent. Liberty retained 4 starters including Cloud, Ionescu, Stewart, and favorable officiating support. Multiple bizarre officiating decisions benefited Liberty throughout the contest. During a 3-point deficit, Indiana initiated an 8-0 run before officials halted play for extended 3-point line review, examining whether a shot occurred marginally outside the arc. This represented a comprehensive victory for the Indiana Fever organization.
Fever ball is finest. As a team, by the way, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. The least turnovers the Fever have had in a game as a team since Caitlin Clark got hurt. Thank you, Tom, for the $10. Really appreciate that. The least turnovers they have had. Which means, as we've always said, individual player turnovers don't mean as much as people think.
The recent matchup between the New York Liberty and Indiana Fever showcased various defensive approaches employed by Liberty head coach Sandy Brondello in attempting to contain Caitlin Clark's offensive production. The tactical decisions and their effectiveness provide insight into the challenges teams face when defending elite playmakers. Brondello's defensive strategy bore similarities to previous encounters between these teams, though the absence of key defender Leonie Fibic created additional complications for the Liberty's game plan. The impact of missing such a crucial defensive piece became evident throughout the contest.
The Indiana Fever have come out and dominated. I'll talk a little bit about Caitlin Clark at the end. Don't worry. Don't worry. I'll talk about Caitlin Clark. I'll spend half of this video talking about Caitlin Clark. Natasha Cloud's Linsanity run is over. As I said, her player of the week, the player of the week curse. We saw it happen to Kelsey Mitchell as well till the end of that game where she was so clutch.
Clark's first half performance demonstrated exceptional efficiency, recording 25 points on 9 of 13 shooting while contributing 5 rebounds and 3 assists against just 2 turnovers. The Liberty initially deployed single coverage through Natasha Cloud, though this approach proved problematic from the outset. The Liberty struggled significantly with semi-transition defense, particularly following rebounds rather than steals. The Fever's pace created constant pressure, forcing defensive mismatches as players were often compelled to guard Clark despite being ill-suited for the assignment. Maureen Johannes frequently found herself switched onto Clark, creating immediate disadvantages for the Liberty.
But her Linsanity runs over. I got a DM from somebody going, Natasha Cloud's great. Why are you talking about her Linsanity run? I'm like, was there a Linsanity run? I was like, she can play defense. Not a great offensive player. Forget the referees. The referees. This was apparently a foul. This was apparently a foul on Lexi Hull. And there were so many of them throughout the game. Brianna Stewart shot 14 free throws.
Cloud's aggressive defensive approach resulted in frequent fouling, with officials calling numerous infractions on the veteran guard. Her physical style of play, characterized by constant contact, drew whistles throughout the opening period. One sequence highlighted the officiating challenges, where Clark endured multiple fouls between receiving an inbound pass and attempting a fadeaway shot, yet only one was called. The accumulation of fouls severely hampered Cloud's effectiveness, limiting her to 4 personal fouls by halftime and forcing her removal trouble from Clark's coverage. This foul trouble also negatively impacted Cloud's offensive contributions, as her focus on physical defense disrupted her rhythm on the other end. Unlike previous meetings where full-court pressure successfully disrupted Clark's ball handling, the Fever adjusted their approach effectively. While the Liberty managed occasional success forcing turnovers late in the third quarter, these moments were isolated rather than systematic. The third quarter proved challenging for Indiana despite outscoring New York, as they surrendered a significant portion of their 16-point lead through poor execution. However, their overall performance remained strong outside of brief lapses. The Liberty's most effective defensive strategy involved deploying length against Clark. The pick-and-roll combination of Clark and Aaliyah Boston proved difficult to defend with traditional coverage due to Boston's rolling ability and Clark's court vision. Placing larger defenders on Clark represented the only viable solution to this tactical problem. Alternative approaches, such as using players like Jordan Canada, Natasha Cloud, or Ryan Howard on Clark, created different challenges. These assignments typically required sacrificing offensive production from elite scorers or relying on officials to permit excessive physicality. While referees allowed considerable contact, the standard wasn't as permissive as in previous games. Clark's ability to force switches through Indiana's offensive system created additional problems for New York. The Liberty's own offensive schemes inadvertently facilitated these mismatches, allowing Clark to exploit favorable matchups consistently. The second half saw improved defensive execution when Kennedy Burke was assigned to cover Boston, reminiscent of strategies employed by other coaches in previous seasons. This approach involved switching assignments to prevent Clark from exploiting traditional pick-and-roll coverage, with larger players defending the roll man while guards switched onto Clark. Historical precedent exists for this strategy, as coaches have previously placed unconventional matchups to neutralize specific offensive combinations. The concept involves starting lineups specifically designed to switch every screen, using length and athleticism to disrupt typical offensive flow. Despite these adjustments, Clark continued finding success against Burke and other defenders. Several possessions featured Clark creating separation and finding open teammates despite increased defensive attention. Even when bothered by length, particularly from players like Breanna Stewart, Clark maintained her playmaking effectiveness.